Lifting straps are a training tool that we will use when we don't want our grip strength to be the limiting factor on the exercise. I've got the three most common types of straps here. We're going to go over how to use each one, the lifts that you would use each one for, and if you want to use lifting straps, how to decide which one would be right for you. First up are something called closed loop or sewn loop lifting straps because they've got this loop on the end that's sewn together. These would be primarily used for deadlifts and deadlift variants, haltings, paused, those kind of things, rack pulls, shrugs, things where the grip could very easily become the limiting thing, and doing something like a mixed grip wouldn't be advisable. So that's what closed loop straps would be used for. To use these, we're going to feed the end of the strap through the loop, and we're going to do one in one direction. We're going to do the other one in the other direction. So we're going to make a left and a right hand strap. All right. And then when you put these on to know if you've got it right, you're going to look at which way the tail is going. As it comes across your palm, it should be going in the same direction as your thumb. Okay. So whichever direction my thumb is pointing, that's the direction the tail of the belt's going to be going. To use these on the bar and with all straps, you've got two hands to start with, so you can assist one hand. The other hand's got to do everything on its own. So I normally assist my right hand. So we'll pull this tight on our wrist. I'll wrap this around. I'll secure it with my thumb and bring my hand over the top. On the other side, I'm going to let this hang down behind the bar. I'm going to pull it tight with my fingers and thumb, wrap it around with my fingers, and then secure it under. If I want to get this any tighter, you can kind of throttle your grip so you roll back loose and come forward tight, roll back loose and come forward tight, and you can get this as tight as you want. So those are the closed loop straps. The one lift, or lifts rather, that you would not use this on are the main Olympic lifts, the clean and the snatch. The reason is these are not quick release straps. In other words, as soon as you let go with your hand, the strap doesn't necessarily release instantaneously. There are straps that do that, and those are the ones we're going to talk about next. I should also mention with the closed loop straps, they are the most common strap that's used, and they're the most user-friendly. Now, that doesn't mean that they're used by beginners only. Advanced lifters use these and lift very heavy weights. They're not weaker straps or anything like that. They're just the most user-friendly because of this right here. They stay on your wrist. They're kind of self-locking. So that's one thing to know about if you're new to straps and you're not sure what to use. You'd probably want to start out with something like closed loop straps, unless, of course, you're going to use them for the Olympic lifts. Next, we have the Olympic lifting straps, or Ollie straps for short. These are used for specifically when you're going to do clean and jerks, snatches, those types of lifts. They can also do everything that the closed loop straps can do. It's literally a strap that can do anything. To use these, you're going to put them on so that the smooth side of the tail is pointing down and the fuzzy side is what's against your palm. So this part wants to point forward when you've got them on. Now these are identical. There's no right and left, so it doesn't matter which side is which. To use these, it's very similar. I'm going to assist one hand. Then on the other side, fingers and thumb, I'm going to use to pull it tight, wrap it around, and again, you can throttle your grip to get it tighter. The reason these are good for the Olympic lifts is because of this right here. When you let go, the strap lets go as quickly as your hands do. That's important because the Olympic lifts are unique in that failing reps in training especially is very, very common. And with a clean or with a snatch, there's no such thing as a spotter or safeties. Your ability to get away from the bar quickly, that is your safety. And you've got to be able to have the strap release quickly. And that's what these kind of straps were originally designed for, to let go as soon as your hands let go. And That's where they get the name Olympic lifting straps. The last straps we're going to cover are something called open loop straps, and they're pretty simple. It's just a strap of leather. These are straps that you'll typically see more advanced lifters use. They're going to take a little bit more practice to be able to use these if you've never used them before. But to use these, you're going to put them around your wrist and you're going to form the strap similar to what an Olympic strap or an Ollie strap looks like. All right. So you're going to put it on your wrist. You're going to bring the two free ends together and you're going to put them on top of each other. And you're going to put the smooth side against the fuzzy side. Okay. Not fuzzy to fuzzy, not smooth to smooth, smooth to fuzzy. And you want to have it basically look like the Ollie strap does. And you want to have the two be as parallel with each other as possible. You don't want them crossed up like this. You want them to be as straight with each other as possible. And you'll do this with both hands. And once you have them both ready to go, again, you can assist your non-dominant hand. On the other side, we're going to do the same thing we always do. Fingers and thumb, pull it tight, wrap it around. And it's usually much easier once you get a hang of this to get these straps tight versus the other two. I don't know why that is. That might be why some of the more advanced lifters prefer them, but it is easy to get a very tight grip with these straps. They also function exactly like the Ollie straps in that as soon as you let go, they let go as well. So these are also do everything straps. They can be used on the Olympic lifts. They can be used on the heavy pulling lifts like deadlifts and everything we talked about before. Now, a good question might be, why would you choose an open loop strap over an Ollie strap, given that they seem to basically do the same thing, but the Ollie strap is a little bit easier to use. This is takes a little more practice. Why would you pick one over the other? The answer is the Ollie strap first has a sewn end. So if you're worried about stitching ever fraying or coming apart, these don't have any stitching, so you're never going to have that issue. We've never had that particular issue on any of our straps, but with some manufacturers, that could be a problem. The other thing is that with the Ollie straps, you're stuck with the length that the manufacturer has chosen. Now, we've chosen a length that's going to be very good for most people, but if you have a specific preference on that, you would either have to tell the manufacturer exactly what you want in terms of length, because this being sewn is going to be very difficult to modify. On the other hand, if you're an advanced lifter and you're used to this and you know exactly what you need, they will cut these down to the absolute minimum that they need to be able to use them. And so that's why you'll sometimes see some straps hanging on the wall that look like impossibly short pieces of leather that the lifters will use for their straps, and that's what they want. So those are a couple of reasons why you might pick an open loop strap over an Ollie strap. For the sake of completeness and to give this some context, I want to talk about other grip strategies that lifters will use before they get to straps. The first one is something called the hook grip. The hook grip is where you take your thumb and instead of wrapping it around the bar like you think you normally would, you'll actually rotate it under the bar like this, and you'll wrap your fingers around your thumb on both sides. And that's how you do your pull. That is very effective. It works very well. Most people find it very, very uncomfortable, especially at first. And if you're simply doing it for the purposes of being able to train without your grip being a limiting factor, a strap might be a better option. If you're training for competition and you're not going to be able to use a strap, by all means, hook grip might be a good option. But if you're just training for the purposes of gaining strength, being healthy, all those good things, then the hook grip might be a little more trouble than it's worth. The second thing, and this is the most common one you will see, is something called a mixed grip. That's where we will have one hand overhand, the other hand will be supinated, and we'll have a grip like this. This is a secure grip because as the bar tries to roll out of one hand, it's rolling into the other, and vice versa. The two cancel each other out. That's a very secure grip as well. It does introduce an asymmetry into the lift, but that's usually not a problem. The thing I will mention about this, it's very critical on the supinated arm that the elbow remain completely straight, because if there is any flexion in the elbow on the supinated hand, you can put a lot of stress on the biceps tendon, more than it's designed to handle. And there's a failure mode that's kind of dramatic. The biceps tendon can rupture and the bicep slides up the arm towards the shoulder. The people that have had this happen say that it happened without warning. Um, Suddenly, there was no pain that preceded it. It just happened. Now, admittedly, that's rare. It's usually on very, very heavy lifts, and when the lifter is not being very careful to keep that elbow perfectly straight. So that's one liability with the mixed grip. Even though an actual biceps tendon rupture is rare, it is important to note that the older you get, um, the heavier weight you're pulling, obviously, the more that becomes a factor. But also, long before you get to an actual rupture, you can get to some amount of irritation over time, which can lead to basically a tendonitis. I've had this before. When it's on the inside, it's something called like golfer's elbow. You know, outside is called tennis elbow, inside is called golfer's elbow. And that's just something at this point I feel like I want to avoid. And since all of my training really has nothing to do with preparing for competition, I'm perfectly fine with keeping the double overhand grip. I don't want to use the hook grip, and I'll use straps instead. One more type of strap that you will see is something called a figure eight strap. I don't have an example right here, but it looks exactly like you would imagine. They're much less common. It's a very specialty strap. They're used for very heavy pulling movements, uh, usually on specialty bars in strongman competitions and things like that. So we don't make one of those specifically, but I just want to mention it for the sake of completeness. In terms of materials, all of the straps we produce are made out of top grain leather. Um, that's a great material because it's very resistant to wear, even against the knurling on the bar. The second most common type is nylon webbing, or sometimes people call it seatbelt material. It's very great stuff, very flexible. It makes a great strap. It does have a little more of a life limit to it because as it abrades against the knurling on the bar, it's going to wear out quicker. But I'll mention it because it is a very common type of strap and it is a very good strap. It just may not last as long as something made out of leather. So to wrap up, if you want the most user-friendly strap, the closed loop strap is probably your best option. Now, just because they're user-friendly does not mean they're only for beginners. There are plenty of very advanced lifters lifting very heavy weights with these straps because that's just what they prefer. You're not limiting yourself in any way by choosing this type of strap. Now, if you want to do the Olympic lifts, you're going to need something that is a quick release strap. So that's going to be either the Ollie straps or the open loop. Of the two, the Ollie straps are more user friendly, but again, you're beholden to the length that the manufacturer has chosen. It's difficult to modify because it has a sewn end to it. And if you're worried about stitches fraying, that's not a concern on the open loop. Now, the open loop, those are going to be the ones that would take the most practice if you've never used them before, but it's a very good strap. It's my personal favorite, and you can modify these to the exact length that you want, provided they come long enough in the first place, which ours do. And these being so simple with no stitching or anything, there's really not much to wear out on them. So a very good, simplistic, minimalist strap that may take a little more practice to learn how to use. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, you can put those in the comments or team@dominionstrength.com. That's our email. If you want to check out any of our straps, dominionstrengthtraining.com. That's for our straps, any of our belts, things like that. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.